Hello, everyone. This is Jasper, and welcome back to another episode of the Newton Public Schools Alumni Association podcast series. And today we are joined by another special guest. Today we have Max joining us. So, Max, would you mind giving us a short introduction of when you graduated from Newton South and kind of what you're doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely, Jasper, and thanks for setting this up. This is a great thing you're doing. So I graduated from Newton South in 2013. Then I went to North Carolina for college at a smaller liberal arts school called Elon University. Graduated from there in 2017 with a degree in finance and accounting. Moved to Charlotte, North Carolina for a couple of years. I worked at Vanguard, which is a big investment management firm on their client relations side. Then I moved to a much smaller company, which was a software company, and did some financial analysis for them. And then after a couple of years down in North Carolina, I moved up to New York to work for an asset manager under the Prudential brand. And that's where I've been since for the last about almost 6 years now. So it's been actually
Oh,
a
wow.
while. And I've definitely loved it, and I would be happy to share more and go in any direction you want to ask.
I see. Well, financial analysis sounds like a very tough work. And just a quick question. Do you think you decided on your future career as a financial analyst when you were in high school, or did that kind of become clearer in college?
Yeah, I was definitely interested in it in high school. So
Oh,
I
I
had a
see.
few ideas, I think, of what I wanted to do in high school. Starting out, I definitely was interested in computer science. It was great
Okay.
that Newton South had pretty advanced computer science classes, at least I thought for the time available. I did a couple years of that, found out it really wasn't my strong suit, and not really the
I
side I was
see.
too interested in. And actually went into college more focused on being more like an accountant, like a CPA. Which is a pretty established career path. And then once in college, I was doing the accounting and the finance classes. Found a little more interest in the finance classes, and did an internship in just basic accounting for a company, and kind of didn't like it at all. Was interviewing for these
Oh, wow.
accounting jobs and didn't love it, and ended up deciding that I think I would want to rather explore the finance side, and kind of found my path
Interesting.
there. Found a path a little later than I think a lot of people do, especially in finance, but have really enjoyed it since.
I see, I see. So you have taken a few courses in Newton South that maybe supplemented or contributed to what you maybe wanted to do, or maybe helped you realize that, maybe this path isn't for me. So I guess, is there a teacher in Newton South that you maybe kind of still remember as having a huge impact on you, or a particular course?
Yeah, this is gonna be a weird one, especially given that I work in a fairly, a business related field.
Oh,
But the class that I end up, I think, thinking about more than anything is I took a science fiction and horror English class senior year
oh,
with Miss
wow.
Tanner. I don't know if she's still there, but I think, it more speaks to the breadth of opportunities at Newton South, and at least being able to explore what you want to do. I think an interesting aspect of at least the way I try to approach my job, which deals in kind of financial markets, is analyzing things beyond the basic level. And I think liberal arts
I
and
see.
that kind of education actually gives you a lot of good base for that. So it's a something that has contributed maybe in a non-conventional way, but it's definitely one of those classes that I kind of revisit in my mind a lot more than you know maybe some other courses. That, and then I think AP statistics and just a basic understanding of statistics has helped massively. And if you want to talk about a more hard skill, that has
Ah, I
helped.
see. That's really interesting. Taking a not STEM course and realizing that I can apply this so much in financial analysis, something that seemingly has no connection to horror literature. And I know that a lot of students, maybe in Newton South right now, maybe are also geared up towards I kind of want to do financial analysis when I grow up, or something related to working in finance as a whole. So, based on what you know of the courses that Newton South offers, or maybe your extraneous knowledge of like extracurricular clubs that Newton South offers, do you have any type of advice specifically or generically for students in South right now who maybe are interested in the finance sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the earlier you get exposed to some of the concepts, the better. So while maybe stock analysis class I did take at Newton South. I don't use
Ooh.
uh, the exact things we learned in that class frequently, but it did make me more familiar with the idea of one, just understanding what's going on in financial markets and watching it and being kind of a little more familiar with the terminology and the ratios that a lot of professional analysts use. But it's, assessing your actual interest in it, right? The job, I think, sounds glamorous to a lot of people, and there's movies and stories about why it's a
Right. Yeah.
cool job. But I think when you get in the weeds, you find out if you're really interested in something like that, and you start looking both at the news flow, and kind of getting into the spreadsheets and the financial statements. That's when you find out whether it's something you're actually interested in. And then I think on the other side, and kind of to the same degree of my comment about a literature class being something that stuck out to me more than anything. You're reading a lot. You are
That's true.
doing. I've done a lot of research, right? My title is credit research analyst, so it is reading a lot of news articles, reading a lot of financial statements and filings,
Hmm.
documents that can be a little dense and heavy to read. So, being able to establish kind of both your hard skills of understanding the financial aspects, the mathematic aspects that you need to do and need to be familiar with, but also your softer skills that, or maybe more liberal arts related skills of reading, analysis, and comprehension are really important. And I think something that Newton South, relative to a lot of other schools, actually prepares you really well for, as I've found kind of throughout my college and professional career.
Wow, interesting. I see. So Newton South offers a lot of, fascinating places for students to learn about financial analysis. But I also hear that, it was more or less in college that you kind of secured your life goal of, wanting to become a financial analysis. So I guess we might elaborating a bit about, what are some interesting things, you did in college that you feel maybe had a large impact on you either working towards your career path or maybe deciding on a career path.
Yeah, absolutely. So my senior year or my junior year, I took a course that was a kind of a special topic seminar that my school offered, specifically about what are called fixed income products. So you might, if you're familiar with kind of the financial world, you might know them better as bonds or mortgages, things like that, where rather than a stock where you get equity ownership in a company, you are basically making a loan to companies. And this, to me, at least just kind of expanded the world of what does finance actually look like. Because I think a lot of people, especially out of high school, think of finance as being investment banking, private equity, and a very set path with a very limited scope of what that looks like coming out.
Oh,
And when
okay.
I took that course, I had a teacher who worked in the fixed income investment management space, and she was incredibly knowledgeable and engaged with the students about both the academic subject and the applicability of it to the real world. So that kind of turned me more towards finance, just thinking, hey, there's more than just kind of this investment banking route, which, if you really want to do that, that does start kind of very early. And maybe that's one part of this incidental advice to anyone who is looking to go down that route. Go be very engaged with your college investment clubs and
Okay.
recruiting very early as possible if your school has those. But also know if you are, I don't want to say behind the eight ball, but you are taking longer to figure out what you want to do. There are plenty of opportunities in a much wider space in finance that you can kind of carve out and find a good career in. Uh, so I think a big part of it was both being open to new ideas and being open to learning about kind of things that you may not have had a preconceived notion of, and then engaging with the professors and kind of learning about their experiences as well. Because a lot of them have really good experience that they can share.
I see. That's fascinating. I hear about taking these like investment courses in college and meeting professors that maybe have a clearer idea of what the job scope is. And I know a
Mhm.
lot of high school students right now, a lot of discourse in high school about what college life looks like. Also includes things like applying for internships at companies. So do you think internships in college was helpful for you?
So yeah, yes, it definitely was because it gave me a good idea of what I didn't want to do. That's
I
the kind of
see.
the best thing my internship gave me. And it gives you, a little more real world experience for something you can speak to when you go through the interview process. Any experience you have is what you kind of can take out of it and what you can take what may not seem applicable and switch it to something that is applicable to whatever you're going for. So trying to see things in different perspectives. And especially in this space, I feel like the old man, even though I know I'm not. But seeing kids that are coming in, relative to other people at least, seeing kids that are coming in now who have interned, starting since freshman year of college, it definitely gives you a leg up when it comes to the recruitment process. Not everyone has those opportunities though, and there's definitely space for people who take a little longer to figure things out. But the more things you can try, and whether that you were initially interested in something like computer science and you do an internship there, you find maybe that's not your favorite thing to do or something you're not very passionate about, you still
I
can,
see.
I think, spin that and use that as relevant experience. It just shows that you're kind of proactive and a go-getter and really are passionate about learning and doing something new, which I think, at least in finance and where I sit, with public financial markets, is kind of one of the most important things you can have.
I see. Okay. So it's kind of just about getting lived experiences of what your job looks like to see if, do I really envision myself doing this essentially for the rest of my life or at least a huge part of it? Is that basically it?
Right. Yeah. And you can, you only have so many summers to do internships and so much time to
That's
do
true.
that type of thing. So my other piece of kind of advice is, whether it's reaching out to Newton South alumni that you can find through LinkedIn, or if they, you have an internal kind of connection to it, whether they keep up with a teacher at Newton South that can connect you or otherwise, or whatever, when you do go to college, you're doing a search on LinkedIn to companies or jobs that you might be interested in of students who went to your college. Now, you'll send a lot of LinkedIn messages, you send a lot of emails, and you might
Hmm.
not get a lot of responses very promptly, but you have nothing to lose. And I find that
Right.
most people are very happy and excited to talk about their path and provide some advice at the very least to the next generation.
Amazing. So it's also about connections to people and remembering, to keep up with the people you have met in the past and kind of networking. So I guess I hope this will be very helpful to anyone listening who is maybe interested in finance. And just to end it off with one quick piece of reflection, I guess, since you've mentioned that, you're a lot more wise and old compared to us measly high schoolers who maybe have zero experience of what college or even real life looks like outside of all the finance stuff that you can do in college. I guess mentally, is there any like value or a mindset that you think that us high schoolers should probably keep in mind that would be very important in taking us as far as we can in life?
Yeah, I think uh, maybe realizing that you can become very very invested in one specific path, but it's not going to be linear. I think you should be open to having your goals change and maybe think, we're talking about career, but there is life outside of the career, and thinking about what you want your life to look like and whether your goals fit that life, uh, and getting a breadth of experiences. Right, there's not much time after you graduate college where you have and high school where you have the freedom to kind of explore any interest you have and invest so much time in it and invest so much passion in it. And I think if you would do yourself a disservice to not follow kind of those threads of passion while you have them and have the time to pursue them now, because I think at the end of the day, one, you will be happy you did when you look back on it, and two, I
Right.
think you do have applicable, things outside of the pursuit itself. Even though I'm in a pretty maybe perceived stodgy field that's not very creative, I think having a creative perspective by having a history either playing an instrument or doing a craft probably helps in you in some aspect that it may not you might not have if you didn't pursue that thing. So just pursue what you can while you can and what you want and what seems interest to you, and know that if you keep your nose to the grindstone when it matters and put in the effort when it matters, things will turn out pretty well. Already just being at Newton South, you're in a really advantageous position. So don't take it for granted too.
Wow, amazing. I hope everyone listening, and I myself included, have learned a lot from your final sharing about, how we should just, be engaged with life and, try out different things and see what clicks for us, not just, for our jobs, but also for our personal interests and our hobbies. So thank you very much today for joining us, Max, and thank you very much to everyone tuning in for listening, and I hope to see you all next time. Thank you, Max.